Millions of workers have been risking their lives day in and day out to keep our mass transit running, deliver packages to our doorsteps, make our food to go, and keep other essential businesses running. In supermarkets and pharmacies, low-wage workers are on the front lines of this pandemic as they restock shelves and handle food and other essential items to keep millions of Americans surviving every day. The hours are long, stressful, and exhausting, and many of these businesses are seeing enormous profit. Trader Joe's, the grocery store chain owned by the richest family in Germany, prides itself for being a place of cheery workers and a relaxed work environment. The store has received a flood of criticism from workers and customers alike for its slow response to the pandemic and for failing to keep workers safe. An employee in upstate New York has already died from the virus, and an online petition calling for a Trader Joe's union and hazard pay has received over 20,000 signatures. CEO Dan Bain has denied all the assertions of these workers and called the union campaign an effort to quote-unquote capitalize off of these uncertain times. I spoke with Trader Joe's workers from stores across New York City on their experiences during this pandemic, what workers need most during this time, and they've decided to remain anonymous for fear of retaliation from the company.
As far as response goes, it's been slow and scary, I would say. We as workers noticed about 2 months ago, people are wearing masks coming into the store, and we're starting to ask questions, and now we're learning about COVID-19 and all this, and we're saying we got to wear masks and gloves, and management is saying, no, you can't do that.
But I remember one time I was at work, and I got off register to go get some gloves, and then a manager was nearby where the gloves was, basically saying that I needed to talk to the other manager to get a paper or something from the doctor saying that it was okay for me to wear gloves.
And corporate is slow to respond because they have many stores to work with, and they try to adjust overall, and they were more concerned about keeping up appearances rather than actually protecting customers and staff.
We have access to a teledoc who will pretty much answer any questions about symptoms you're having. Through those symptoms, they can give you kind of like a rough diagnosis of what might be happening. And we've had about 4 or 5 cases of people calling into teledoc and the teledoc saying, you have coronavirus. Because they weren't physically tested, there were no precautions taken, so no closing down the store for extra cleaning. They just told us not to worry about it because they weren't actually tested because they don't have access to test. One of our fellow crew members, when she was talking to us, said, to me specifically, said, I'm still sick. I don't have taste or smell, which is one of the symptoms for coronavirus, but she felt physically okay and decided to come into work. Then one of the managers was in the room and was pretty much like, well, we're glad you came back, like we needed your help, instead of sending her home when she was clearly still sick and said in front of everyone that she was sick.
And that's a big concern because there are employees there that are at high risk and should not be working, but they end up having to because they still have bills to pay. Rent is a concern a lot of people have, and there's other bills that they have to worry about that aren't frozen, that aren't canceled at all. So they're going to work, they're risking their lives and the lives of anyone close to them.
I have a $2 raise that's temporary. I should have added that before. The $2 raise is temporary. So once this is over, we go back to being whatever rate you were working before, which is completely unfair, right? Because we should already be making more than what we're getting paid for to have a livable wage in New York City. If you do get sick, you have 14 days of sick time that will be paid. And then after that, if you want to take an extra precaution, let's say you live with someone who's sick or something of that nature, you can take a leave of absence, but it would be unpaid. We come into contact with hundreds of people a day, and when I come home, I'm taking those hundreds of people germs, no matter how much I wash my hands, right? You don't know what it's on, and so it's definitely affected like how we clean at home, how we put things away, who touches what. Even like down to where I eat, right? Now I'm eating in my room instead of eating in the living room with my grandmother. It feels like it's way more about money than people's safety. And, if we were to get sick and we're putting ourselves out there and, we're just risking ourselves, it's like we'll get replaced. And there's this kind of like, well, you chose to work here, so you should be okay and be happy and be smiley all the time. And that's just not real, right? We're struggling just like everybody else is struggling.
I think the thing that workers need more than anything is to know that we're being taken care of. And I don't mean just like an anti-union letter being sent in the mail claiming that corporate is looking out for us, whereas unions are trying to capitalize on us, because we know that that's not true. We know that the reason workers reach out to unions is because they're worried and because corporate isn't taking care of them, and they need someone whose expressed responsibility is to take care of us.
People should recognize that the people who work at these grocery stores, the people who work at Trader Joe's specifically, are still human, and you don't have to thank them for coming in because they have to be there for themselves to live.
We're regular people who are trying to get by. We've got our own hopes and dreams. Some of the smartest, most creative, thoughtful, caring, loving people, hardest working people are in these stores, not just at Trader Joe's, but at all the bodegas, all the grocery stores, all the laundromats, all the taxi drivers, and we deserve better than that. We deserve a chance at having our hopes and dreams be successful, and right now that's not how it's looking, particularly when people are dying.
Well, it's clear Trader Joe's isn't protecting its workers. Basic rights like a livable wage, paid time off, access to protective gear, and an overall safe work environment are things that all workers deserve and need, especially in a time of crisis.